Power. In the world of the Wheel of Time, it can lift you to greatness or drag you into darkness. Liandrin Guirale. Her name alone stirs a mix of fear, contempt, and intrigue. Liandrin Guirale rose from the gutters of Terabon with nothing but rage in her heart and fire in her veins. She clawed her way into the ranks of the Aes Sedai, donned the red of justice, and secretly pledged her soul to the shadow. An Aes Sedai of the Red Ajah. At least, that's what the world believed. But beneath the shawl and smooth features lay a woman entirely consumed by ambition, cruelty, and the dark promise of power. But ambition is a blade with no handle, and when it cuts too deep, not even the one power can save you. Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. This is the full story of Liandrin Guirale, schemer, traitor, and servant of the dark, from her hunger for control to her final fall into slavery. Let's unravel the rise and ruin of one of the most dangerous women in the Wheel of Time. Tragic origins and early ambition. Liandrin Guirale was born in 964 of the New Era in the poverty-ridden streets of Terabon. Her father, a fruit seller with no skills, no prospects, and no hope, eked out a pitiful living, pushing a wheelbarrow of bruised fruit. From those early days, Liandrin stared up at the world with bitter, narrowed eyes. Power was something other people had. Influence belonged to those born with privilege or charm or wealth. Liandrin had none of those. But what she did have was hunger. A hunger to rise above, to tear her way out of that life and crush anything that dared look down on her. And the one power, Saidar, was her ladder to do it. Even before she knew the words for what she could do, Liandrin was already manipulating others. When she spoke, people listened, even when they didn't want to. It wasn't just charisma, it was something deeper, something more sinister. Her earliest weaving of the One Power was an unrefined version of compulsion. She called it opening people. It made others listen, obey, but when pushed too far, it hurt, a stabbing, searing agony in their minds. As a child, she learned to wield this broken gift in secret, using it to get what she wanted, leaving behind confused, frightened people with headaches and tears they didn't understand. When her strength could no longer be ignored, Liandrin left her old life behind and made her way to Tar Valon. The White Tower welcomed her, as it did all women strong in the power, and she spent 5 years as a novice and 5 more as accepted. But Liandrin wasn't like the other girls. She didn't yearn to heal the sick or serve the light. She dreamed of darker things, secrets whispered in shadows. The Black Ajah called to her like a siren, promising exactly what she craved: power without limits, and the chance to destroy those who thought themselves above her. In 989 Northeast, Liandrin was raised to Aes Sedai. She joined the Red Ajah, dedicated to hunting down male channelers. But that was a mask. Beneath the surface, she had already sworn herself to the Black Ajah, casting aside the 3 oaths in a dark ceremony and binding herself to a new set of vows to the Great Lord of the Dark.
No! Please!
Pursuit of the Dragon Reborn. By 998 Northeast, the Dark One's plans had begun to move. Liandrin attended the infamous Dark Friends Social at Shaiol Ghul, where she received orders: find and capture Rand al'Thor, Mat, and Perrin Ibera. Publicly, she traveled to Fal Dara as a Red Sister in service to the Amirlan seat. Secretly, she hunted the Dragon Reborn. At Fal Dara, Liandrin quickly discovered that Rand was already present. She used her version of compulsion on Amalisa Jagad to force a search. When she finally found Rand in the dungeons, she tried to break his will with her power. But Rand, even then, was strong enough to resist her mental attacks through sheer force of will, though it nearly killed him. Only Moiraine's intervention stopped her. Defeated and frustrated, she bided her time, returning with the Amirlan's party to Tar Valon. On the journey, she gave a channeling lesson to Egwene and Nynaeve, thinly veiled as a teaching session, but in truth, little more than intimidation. She wanted information about Rand, and she wasn't shy about using fear to get it. Then came her great betrayal.
I want to win.
Betrayal in the White Tower. In the fall of 998 New Era, Liandrin approached Nynaeve and Egwene under the pretense that Rand was in danger. With calculated urgency and false concern, she convinced the girls to flee the tower with her. Elaine and Min overheard her and insisted on joining. The four women entered a way gate and traveled to Toman Head, unaware they were walking into a trap. When they emerged, Liandrin delivered them directly to the High Lady Suroth of the Shan-Chan. Egwene was collared as a domain. Min was beaten. Nynaeve and Elaine barely escaped. Liandrin, unfazed, returned through the ways, satisfied with her work. But her betrayal didn't end there. Back at the tower, she helped 12 other Black Sisters steal Liandrin Guirale and murder 21 people, including Aes Sedai and warders. Before fleeing, she followed orders from Ishamael, one of the Forsaken, who directed her to Tyr. There, she aligned herself with Betrayal, another Forsaken, and took residence in the Stone of Tyr. The Liandrin Guirale they stole, many were tied to Tel Aren'Rhiod, the world of dreams. Liandrin was experimenting with them, watching, waiting. When Nynaeve, Elaine, and Egwene came for her, she captured them again. Shielded and beaten with flows of air, she brought them to Betrayal as bait for Rand, but Betrayal was slain by Moiraine. The Stone of Tyr fell to the Aiel. Liandrin's plans, once again, crumbled. She fled.
This is the shackled man. A statue older than...
The search for the Domination Band. Her next lead, a mysterious Liandrin Guirale in Tanchico that could control Rand al'Thor, the male Adam, better known as the Domination Band. Dangerous not just for the Dragon Reborn, but for anyone foolish enough to try using it. Liandrin went to Tanchico, taking up residence in the mansion of a Dark Friend merchant. She used every resource she had to search for the device, but Nynaeve and Elaine were right on her heels. Worse, Moghedien, a newly freed Forsaken, was already watching, using Liandrin as a pawn. At the Panarch's palace, chaos erupted. Liandrin's attempts to control the palace through Jaihim Caridin and the Children of the Light unraveled. A massive battle in Tel Aren'Rhiod between Moghedien and Nynaeve rocked the city. Nynaeve escaped with the Domination Band. The streets of Tanchico burned with riots. Liandrin's plan destroyed once again. She ran east, hiding in Amador, but her failures were piling up, and Moghedien had seen enough.
My Cabal are loyal to me, and I am loyal to you. Ask anything of me.
Fall under Moghedien's control. Disguised as a servant named Gildan, Moghedien infiltrated the Black Sisters' hideout and brought them under her control. When Liandrin tried to attack, the Forsaken casually shielded her, then crushed her with pain and humiliation. And then she did something worse than death. Moghedien tied off an invisible shield on Liandrin, permanently severing her access to the source. She wasn't stilled, not technically, but she could never channel again. To make her punishment complete, Moghedien laid a compulsion weave on her. One simple command: live. Cursed with the knowledge that she could never again touch the power, Liandrin was broken. She was handed over to her former ally Timael for torture. Her life, once filled with ambition and fire, was now reduced to servitude. A failed villain, wallowing in misery. Fate of Liandrin. She worked as a scullery maid, scrubbing pots and serving food to people she once commanded. When the Shan-Chan invaded Amadisha, the estate was overrun. Soldiers found Liandrin, but thanks to the invisible shield, she wasn't recognized as a channeler. She tried to save herself by betraying her captors as Dark Friends, but it only earned her a new prison. The High Lady Suroth, who hadn't forgotten Toman Head, claimed her, not as a domain, as a Dakavale, a slave. Dressed in sheer robes, she carried Suroth's writing desk, followed her like a pet, and obeyed Alwyn, Suroth's Sojin. Her anger simmered, always just under the surface. Her glares and scowls were ignored, her resistance punished. She tried to poison Alwyn once. It only brought more suffering. When Liandrin reported that General Galgan had arrived, Suroth had her whipped and began considering collaring her as a Marath Daman. That was the final step in her descent. From feared Aes Sedai to Black Ajah traitor. From manipulator to manipulated. From captor to captive. Liandrin's fate after Suroth's downfall remains unknown, but perhaps that's fitting. Her story is one of ambition without restraint, of power gained through cruelty, in the slow unraveling of a woman who believed she could outsmart the world. Every step she took toward the Dark One's promises led her further into a prison of her own making. And in the end, When all the plots failed and all the power was stripped away, Liandrin Guirale was left with nothing but a memory of what she once was, and the unbearable truth that she could never be that woman again. A cautionary tale in a world where power is never given freely and where the price is always paid in full.
Change. I'll remind you of it.
Our nerdy thoughts, from whispered lies to brutal weaves, from the courts of the White Tower to the depths of Dakavale shame, Liandrin Guirale's journey is a slow-motion collapse. Crushed under the weight of her own ambition, she betrayed friends, manipulated allies, and served the shadow without question. And for all her cunning, she was outplayed, overpowered, and discarded. Now she's not feared, she's forgotten. The world moved on without her, but her story remains a warning, because in the wheel of time, even the strongest threads can unravel. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the series' most twisted characters, drop a like, subscribe for more lore explorations, and let us know who you'd like us to cover next. The pattern weaves as the pattern wills, but your comments help guide the loom. Thanks for watching. Until next time, walk in the light or don't.